Welcome back, YouTube. Today we have an '07 Honda Odyssey and we're going to adjust the valves. So let me walk you along the process.
Okay, so you can see that red mark I made on the camshaft pulley. So that's the number one top dead center mark. And then if you look, there's that little pointer, the little notch inside that hole. You need to line those up. So mine's not quite lined up yet. You're gonna have to go through this for all the cylinders. Number one is in the back. So there'll be another little notch. I don't have it in red, but you just go one rotation at a time, or just one notch to notch to notch, and then you move to the corresponding cylinder and adjust the valves. You'll need a filler gauge. I just have an offset one set out and a straight one just in case. Sometimes it's hard to get into certain areas with these, so the intake is going to be the 8 thousandths and the exhaust is going to be the 12 thousandths, or 0.2 millimeters or 0.3 millimeters. Oh, so you're going to want a wrench like this. It makes life a lot easier. It's pretty difficult without it. As a matter of fact, getting that wrench, especially on that rear cylinder head back there with the feeler gauge and the screwdriver, it's a royal pain in the ass. And these curved feeler gauges are a must. If you don't have these, you can just bend your current feeler gauges. I don't like to do that, but I mean, these came in a set. Yeah, getting to those rear valve adjustments is very difficult without one of these or these, so keep that in mind. When you're looking at the head, you can identify which is the exhaust and which is the intake by just looking at the engine. So down there you see the cat, that's obviously the exhaust. So these down here will be the exhaust valves for this head. These are the intake valves. It's the intake manifold right there, so it's an easy way to tell. And same thing on the back. Those are the intake, and then exhaust will be tucked back up in there. Those are kind of a pain in the ass, but we'll get them. It's also a good idea to cover your intake. You don't want any dirt or debris falling in there. The firing order for this engine is on the back 1, 2, 3, and then front 4, 5, 6. Or that's the cylinder identification. I'll post a picture of the firing order. So I'm not going to show you the rear head just because it's very difficult to get to, and filming would be, it would just be hard. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you how to adjust the valves on that front head, and that way you just have an idea of, you know, how to use the feeler gauge, what the process is, and it's pretty straightforward. Once you can adjust one valve, you can adjust them all. You just have to figure out where the engine's supposed to be, figure out what cylinder you're supposed to be on, and make sure to use the correct feeler gauge for intake and exhaust, because they are different. And also, so I took that timing cover off just so you could see where the says all the different cylinder numbers. So right now we're on 1, and there's 4, 2, and so on all the way around. So you're gonna want to line those up. And then I just made a mark, but you can see right There's a notch on the back of that timing cover. I just put red paint on it to correspond with this. That way it's a lot easier. I can't see those numbers with that timing cover on there. Okay, we're on this front bank now. You can see I have cylinder 4 top dead center lined up with that timing mark. Maybe kind of hard to see from this angle, but it's lined up. Okay, so we got our feeler gauge. It's the intake valves on this side, exhaust valves on this side. What you want to do is get this feeler gauge right in between the valve stem there and this adjuster. I like to tighten it, clamp it down to where you can't really pull this out, and then just want to back it off. You just want a tiny bit of resistance. It's kind of something you might have to feel on your own to figure out, but it's too tight is not good, too loose is not good. There's a little flathead right there, and then this lock nut tightens that into wherever you had the adjustment. See, I probably bumped it a little bit. Yeah, see, it's too loose. I like to snug it, check it, still a little loose. Crack this lock nut, tighten this screwdriver a little bit, retighten the lock nut, and when you're happy, you should feel a little drag, but it should be fairly easy to pull out, I should say. And you just keep doing that until you have it where you want it. It's very, very tight measurement. See, I barely moved it, now it's locked in there. I'm gonna loosen it just a hair. Tighten that back down. This valve's kind of weird. It's pretty finicky, this one. I think I just so I can feel some tension, but it does slide in and out. So then I'm going to very carefully tighten this lock nut down. Don't need them super tight, but you want them snug. And then you're going to do the same thing on this valve right here. Then you're going to do the same thing on these exhaust valves down here. And then you're going to rotate the engine until that lines up with cylinder 5. Because remember, it's 1, 2, 3 on the back, 4, 5, 6 on the front. So we're doing one cylinder at a time at top dead center. At top dead center, those valves are closed, which allows you to make the adjustment. If you were to do it any other way, you just couldn't. It would be way off. There would be tension on those springs. So if you go to loosen those and the springs push this rocker arm up, you're not on top dead center. You guys probably noticed that massive amount of noise in the background. Well, meet the shop dogs. That's Ranger. That's Molly. They like to make a lot of noise every time I'm making a video, it seems like. Okay, so valves are all adjusted. And if you're wondering how I got to this point,
maybe you didn't have to do a head gasket job, so you don't know. Well, you're gonna have to take that intake manifold off because it covers both the valve covers. You can't get them off. And then you need to disconnect all the appropriate wiring, hoses, all that stuff, and the valve covers themselves. It's not an incredibly huge job, but it is fairly time consuming. These engines aren't a picnic to work on, so just be prepared. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys like this content, you want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll see you next time.